Nigerian opposition leader Atiku Abubakar paid $16.5 million, which is 8.7 billion naira in today's parallel conversions, to an American firm to help him destroy his opponent's campaign message and procure a visa to Washington in the run-up to the 2019 presidential vote. According to disclosure filing seen by People's Gazette, bolstering a long-held presumption that Nigeria electioneering was becoming more expensive to run even before illicit payments to electoral officers and voters are factored in. Mr. Abubakar, 74, used the money to enlist the services of KM Family Investment LLC, a Texas-based public affairs consultancy run by Sada Kumba, a Pakistani-American diplomat and former U.S. Special Envoy to the Organization of the Islamic Conference, OIC, under President George W. Bush. The deal was facilitated by Legacy Logistics, an Abuja-based integrated services venture linked to Mr. Abubakar's associates Samuel Cornelius and Joseph Nzipwome. Amongst other campaign ideas, Mr. Kumba and his team accepted the $16.5 million deal to help the former Nigerian vice president lobby American politicians and bureaucrats for a visitor's visa, coordinate advanced communications of his campaign, and help build a structure tasked with the destruction of opposition messaging, according to the contract seen by the Gazettes, as part of compliance with the provision of U.S. Foreign Agents Registration Act. The deal was signed on October 26, 2018, 3 weeks after Mr. Abubakar clinched the presidential nomination of the opposition People's Democratic Party to challenge President Muhammadu Buhari in the February 2019 elections. But the filing said Mr. Kumba had contacted top Washington lobbyists Holland and Knight on no earlier than September 20th, 2018, seeking their services in helping Mr. Abubakar procure a visa to the US. Holland and Knight charged Mr. Kumba $75,000 for the contract and promptly dispatched its personnel to liaise with Republican members of the U.S. Congress, as well as representatives of White House National Security Council and the State Department. Mr. Kumba, an influential Republican and ally of former President Donald Trump, started preparing his team for a trip to Abuja to meet Mr. Abubakar's campaign shortly after the deal was signed and the visa was all but guaranteed, the Gazette learns. It was unclear how much Mr. Kumba charged Mr. Atiku for the visa alone as part of the $16.5 million campaign strategy deal. The spokesman for his firm did not immediately return a request seeking comment from the Gazette on Tuesday night. The contract said the agreed sum was exclusive of Mr. Abubakar's flights and accommodation to the US and security and logistics for Mr. Kumba's team on the other trips to Nigeria, indicating that the Nigerian politician paid out of his pocket when his entourage stayed at the Trump International Hotel in Washington during the trip. In the contract agreement, Mr. Kumba asked Mr. Abubakar's campaign to pay $16.5 million into an escrow account. The money would be depleted in 3 tranches at every milestone of the 3 phases of the project. The escrow agents shall disburse the escrow fund as follows: a $5,500,000 and no $100 shall be disbursed to escrow agents from escrow fund to firm immediately upon confirmation that the travel visa for Mr. Atiku Abubakar has been issued by the United States government, and $8,500,000 shall be disbursed to escrow agents from escrow funds to firm immediately upon shipment of the book by firm and release of the OPs by firm, and remaining $2,500,000 shall be disbursed by escrow agents from escrow funds to firm 30 days before the currently announced election day in Nigeria of February 16, 2019. This date shall not change even if election day is postponed. Funds may also be disbursed in accordance with the joint written instructions signed by both firm and clients. On disbursement of all the escrow fund, the escrow agreement shall terminate, the contract said. The contract was scheduled to last between October 2018 and January 2019, when the last $2.5 million was slated to be released from the escrow account. It also included a clause that said any postponement of the election will not affect the disbursement of the $16.5 million as scheduled in the agreement. The election was indeed shifted from February 16, 2019 to February 23, 2019. The deal underscored how expensive Nigeria presidential elections have become over the past decade and how politicians continue to contract foreign strategies to help direct their campaigns. In 2015, Mr. Buhari's APC awarded a similar contract to AKPD Message and Media, a strategic communications outfit headed by David Aslord, who directed President Barack Obama's presidential campaign in 2008 and 2012. The amounts appeared to have been drawn from Mr. Abubakar's formidable campaign war chest and did not include either other electoral expenses locally, including ad buys across traditional and digital media. Nigerian politicians are also known to pay heavily to secure their parties' tickets at the primaries, advance illicit payments to electoral officers, and induce voters at the ballot box. Mr. Abubakar has carried a burden of corruption perception since he was accused of laundering about $40 million by the U.S. Senate in a 2010 probe. The probe uncovered how Mr. Abubakar used his wives to launder the funds, including about $1.7 million in cash bribes from German technology giant Siemens. Siemens pleaded guilty to the charges in 2008 and paid about $1.6 billion in fines. The main opposition chieftain was also named as an accomplice in a multinational bribery scandal of a broadband contract that sent his Democratic ally Jefferson to prison in 2005. Mr. Abubakar denied all allegations of corruption and has not been formally convicted of graft, but the US nonetheless found him unworthy of its visa and blocked him from getting one for years. Mr. Abubakar said in interviews that he applied for a US visa repeatedly but was denied on administrative grounds, which consular officers did not elaborate. But as his opponents were preparing to use his inability to enter the US owing to unclear corruption claims, Mr. Abubakar pinned his hopes on Mr. Kumba's steep ties across Washington, which paid off when he arrived in Washington on January 17, 2019 for the first time in over a decade, thereby crossing a major political hurdle that has haunted him for years. Mr. Kumba agreed to, as part of the deal, help Mr. Abubakar write a book outlining his vision for Nigeria, hold talks with key players at the World Economic Forum in Davos, conduct opposition research, and SWOT analysis of his ambition. A campaign insider told the Gazette that Mr. Kumba and his team helped put together the structure of his campaign as well as the strategy documents he launched in the run-up to the election. Still, it remained unclear whether the agreement was implemented in the entirety, especially as Mr. Abubakar did not appear to have launched any book before the election. A spokesman for the former vice president did not return requests seeking comments about the contract. Mr. Buhari was declared the winner of the election amidst condemnation from election observers and protest from Mr. Abubakar. The opposition leader argued the election was rigged after ruling party agents broke into the Electoral Commission's database and changed votes, but lost at the tribunal and the Supreme Court. The question is that if Atiku had won, do we think Nigeria would have been better for it? Because that is how they always deceive everybody. Nobody believes that Buhari, the way Buhari is, what is happening under Buhari's regime, that it could be happening with all the way and manner. It was so sober, this and this and this and that. All of them are the same. Oh? All of them are the same. Some people begin to ask you that even Buhari himself, how did he get to campaign vigorously like that? A lot of people have been accused using the taxpayers' money where that they have stolen from when they were in office to fund Buhari's campaign. So there is money in this country, Nigeria, honestly, but that is why all of them are saying one Nigeria, one Nigeria. They know what they are doing. They know what they are doing because you see them across board. They are friends, irrespective of the religion they practice or the tribe they came from. They are all the same. Forget it. He won't be surprised. The essence illiterate, not Hausa Fulani people will go for their selfish interests. Millions uneducated and poverty-stricken people in the states and north are helpless and cannot say something. Why this desperation to rule Nigeria, to steal and loot its treasury? It is not as if they even have the know-how. So much for nothing. We also need to know how much was spent on the Dubai escapade. Hope you care to know how much Tinubu and co also spent for Bubutu. They are all the same politicians in Nigeria. Now business they don't have anything to offer. All of them have nothing to offer. Well, of course, definitely it's going to come out to debunk it. Definitely they will debunk it. That is their usual way. So guys, leave your comment down there below and let's have your take on this.